Ladies and gentlemen, exactly. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I wanted to share my thoughts with you. Volunteering is on my mind, and that's my thought for the month. My first volunteering and step into AAUW was for the STEM conference as a host. And that really is how many of us became involved in AAUW more, was through the STEM conference. Thank you to those who in the present and the past who have volunteered to make the STEM conference a success. Our previous STEM conferences and tomorrow's event wouldn't happen without all of your efforts, and the women of tomorrow will benefit from what you are doing. This is a room full of women who want to make a difference in the world, or you wouldn't be here. There is so much talent here. I'm hoping AAUW becomes an outlet for your talents. We don't join groups like ours to play bunco or go to book clubs or attend interest groups. We join AAUW because we all want to make a difference in our world, and this is the place to do it. In any group, there are the brave and the bold who will put their hand up and say, oh, I'll do that when a job is mentioned. But most of us don't initially volunteer because we don't know what's involved in that job that they're offering. We aren't sure we know how to do it. We don't consider ourselves techie or knowledgeable. We don't want to make a commitment because we are concerned about the time. We are involved in our children's or grandchildren's or parents' daily lives. We want to be free to travel. My email address is in that wonderful little blue yearbook, which is made up yearly by our members for our members. I'd like to hear from you if you have an ability to commit to 1 or 2 of our branch meetings a year, or are willing to take a small part of one of the positions that we have. If you have small time, and let me know, email me. It's patriciastubbs@yahoo.com. A small commitment is enough. At the same time, I'd like to challenge those of us who have jobs to bring in someone new to do some part of what you have been doing. The way we grow new volunteers and members who can run committees is by starting small. It's easier to do a job all by yourself. It's more efficient in a short run, but in the long run, we need more members trained to come into assisting the AAUW to run. And I know if we all think about that, we can all be much more successful in what we do. And we have been very successful. And I applaud you guys for your STEM conference success. Thank you.
I want to let you all know, for those who don't know at the moment, that Trish will be our president next year. Are we not lucky? Now, some of you or many of you may be wondering about this beautiful picture that's up here on the screen. And I hope that by this time that Denise Westcott is, she can't be here, but she's with us on Zoom. And I hope that she's seeing. This is her painting that was submitted to AAUW for their art contest. And she was one of the 6 winners. So. And this is the painting that won. And it will be on the AAUW note cards next year. So you'll have an opportunity to get it on the note cards. But I think let's all give a really big round of applause so she can hear it through Zoom. We are very, very proud of you, Denise. It's a beautiful painting and we're so proud of you. Okay, it's now time for our speaker, and I will let Catherine Brown introduce him.
Okay. Yeah. Just a second.
We have a lady in waiting here. Literally.
Just my apologies for
I think it's been quite a while since one of our officers was giving birth to her first child. And we're all pretty excited about it, right?
okay, much better. Okay, well said. My apologies. I should have set that up a little bit earlier.
Take your time, don't run back to your seat. Our speaker tonight is the Naslund Endowed School of Education Dean at the University of Redlands. This department is named in honor of Millie Naslund, a U of R alumna and one of the first high-ranking female administrators in the Los Angeles Unified School District. Our speaker's academic writing focuses on state wide policy and performance and higher education strategy. He holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, apropos of our STEM conference, an MBA from the University of Texas at Austin, and a doctorate in policy and leadership studies from Arizona State University. Please welcome Dean Mario Martinez.
Now, I am going to get situated here. I hope it's okay. I bring my own little microphone. Yes. And I'm going to see if we're situated here, and I'm sure everybody online can see that. Okay. I think you all know in the pandemic now that when you wear a mask and glasses, your glasses get fogged up, which is why I come prepared with this. But welcome and thank you for having me. I value the privilege of having a few minutes to share with you how the mission and the work of AAUW aligns and overlaps with the mission of the School of Education here at the University of Redlands. Tonight, as I share with you, I have three goals. My first goal is to share the philosophy and the ethos of the School of Education, which I believe is something that we have in common with you. This is the why that is the foundation of who we are and all that we do. Sharing the foundation is the first step to strengthening any relationship. My second goal is to share with you what we in the School of Education are doing to walk the talk in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I note in a recent message from Erica Wilson to your Redlands membership that she writes, the state and national AAUW organizations have made DEI, equity and inclusion, a top priority, and we hope our branch will be among those working actively on these important issues. How important that our two organizations, both living and working in our common city of Redlands, have DEI as a top priority. How important it then becomes to share what we are doing, gather feedback and reaction from each other, and learn where we might partner and grow together in this area. For goal 2, I will share some visuals with you to capture and convey the work that the School of Education has done and is doing in this area. My third goal is to make you aware of opportunities for partnership. As Dean, I have 3 priorities, one of which is partnership. Without partnership, we will not deepen our impact. I believe that is true for any organization, for any person. Without partnership, the School of Education cannot do more of what it already does well and do new things. We need partnership to deepen our impact. We need partnership to transform lives, not just engage in transactional relationships. All three of these goals are circumscribed by my belief that it is critical that you get to know the School of Education and me as its current leader. So I will also be sharing additional information as we move through this time together. Don't worry, it's not an hour, it's about 12 minutes left. We all know that it is only through the conversation that we really do get to know each other. So let's go ahead and start with my first goal. And I'll get to the slides as soon as I get through the first goal. The first goal is to share the School of Education and my as dean philosophy and ethos with you. Our philosophy and its accompanying ethos is the foundation on which all of our work rests. Our activities in teaching, scholarship, and service. Our activities are symbols. Our website and even our physical space in our building are all visible to people who come, to people who work with us. But these are elements of our organizational consciousness, what people can see. But beneath the surface and not always visible lies our organizational philosophy that is the foundation that drives our priorities. The philosophical ideal for the School of Education, which is really already inherent in all that we do and just part of how students and faculty think, is this: find the others. To find the others is a philosophy that at its core is to serve others, to hear their stories, to walk the journey with them. Finding the others happens in small and big ways in the School of Education. It is intentionally providing an education to 70% of our students of color who comprise the school body of the School of Education, the highest of any academic unit at the University of Redlands, and working every year and every day to understand how we understand these students' perspectives and where they come from, how they learn. And as we do so, we learn about ourselves as we prepare diverse learners for a diverse world. Whatever their major, from teaching and counseling to administration and working in student affairs in colleges and universities, this is one way that we find the others. To find the others is also embodied in the work that one of our professors does by teaching what is called an Inside Out course, whereby he carpools with a group of University of Redlands students and travels to a Norco correctional facility to learn and teach with incarcerated youth. This is finding the others. Another way that we find the others is to provide work for our counseling students who participate in an agreement that we have with what is called the Riverside Free Clinic in Riverside, California, just down the road from us. This clinic provides free mental health counseling services to people who need it. Our students working in a real city with real people, finding the others. Finally, a last example. To find the others is to work the work of one of our special initiatives, whereby one of the directors who reports to me works with cohorts of underserved youth starting in the 6th grade. These 6th graders will work to be college ready by the time they are in 12th grade. She finds the others by making opportunities available to those whose parents did not have the same chance for college, the chance that all of you had. This is finding the others. These are just a few examples of the ways that we find the others, to give you a tangible picture of all we do aside from what you might be familiar with. Faculty teaching courses, writing books and articles, deans making long-winded speeches, all of these things that we imagine. In the School of Education, though, we are working to live the ethos of serving and of finding the others. The case for finding the others and the tangible examples that I have shared point to a powerful philosophy that contemporary and ancient philosophers have long struggled with, but it has precedent. Professor Douglas Rushkoff, who is a research fellow of the Institute for the Future, in his book, Team Human, says to find the others is to resolve the tension of an ancient paradox, the individual versus the collective. As I, an individual, seek my own happiness, my own peace, I simultaneously seek to be part of something that is more than just me. I seek to be part of a greater whole, a collective. There is often tension, however, in finding individual happiness and giving for the greater good. For group membership requires one to give up some individual freedom. That is the tension that we all struggle with. The tension applies to institutions and academic units, since every organization, such as a school of education, is part of a greater whole, a university. Professor Rushkoff's solution of finding the others is that through serving others and hearing their stories, somehow meaning manifests for us. We achieve both autonomy and belonging, both of which we seek, all of us seek. The tension between the individual and the collective finds resolution in finding the others. The debate of whether we are basically nasty and selfish is a view promoted by Thomas Hobbes, or in our heart of hearts, we are really basically good. Rousseau was more optimistic on this point. Really becomes moot when we simply focus on finding and serving the others, something I think your organization does well. Martin Luther King Jr., in his efforts to promoting a greater good and service to others, said that in order to achieve this, we must practice a daily death to self, which makes it possible to selflessly serve others. Martin Luther King's philosophies and practices were informed by a diversity of thinkers and leaders, from Gandhi and the teachings of Jesus to Nietzsche and Marx. King found it healthy to wrestle with the tensions inherent in different ways of thinking and doing, different philosophies, different people, diverse people. I would now like to provide a short presentation of our guiding strategic framework and DEI work, as it illuminates, I believe, the compass that helps us find the others. That's the linkage. The philosophies I have been talking about, the examples I have shared. By sharing this presentation, I hope you to help to get to know the School of Education at a deeper level. Sure.
Jump in here one last time. Okay, we're good now.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
And then to advance it, I just press that.
that's, yes. Do you see it still? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, or you can just hit the right.
I'll just hit the button. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. So let me share a little bit of our work in the School of Education to help you see some examples and the framework which guides our work. First of all, it's important for you to know that diversity, equity, and inclusion, we believe, starts with us, understanding our current state, understanding ourselves. Our commitment to DEI is first examining ourselves. How can we tell somebody else how to do it when we haven't looked at ourselves? A framework helps guide good work, including DEI. And it has to align with our vision and our mission. And I'll show you how that happens as we embark on our work. Artifacts, symbols, and stories should represent those we serve and who we are as well. If you join me at some point in the School of Education, I'll walk you down our hall and show you some of the symbols and artifacts that we're beginning to put in place to demonstrate who we are and who we serve. This is our strategic framework. I've only highlighted a couple of examples of words and phrases that give you an idea of who we are in the School of Education, so that I can accomplish one of my goals tonight of having you get to know us. We are justice focused. We believe in the ideas of emphasizing equity and promoting diversity. We also believe that it is important to be self-aware of who we are, to examine ourselves. Our DEI framework is really the vehicle by which we operationalize that mission and vision. You can see it in the middle of this graphic. And our DEI framework has 4 elements, each of which I will share a brief example. So again, you can get to know us a little bit better. After all, we are neighbors with AAUW, and we have to get to know each other to do the transformational work that I have spoken of. First of all, viability and vitality. What does that mean? Any organization, volunteer, for-profit, education, government, viability and vitality means the organizational health, the sustainability of the organization, the collective. Here I have 4 elements that are not all inclusive of all that we build on in this component of our framework, but that demonstrate the things that are important to us. Let me just focus on the 3rd bullet point, strategies and resources, to give you an example of how we maintain our health, our viability. Partnership. I've mentioned a number of times that that is key to our success. As we partner with other individuals and organizations, it causes strong, what researchers call network ties. It increases our sustainability. It increases our viability as we partner together, as we work together. A strand of 3 is not easily broken. We have, for example, some outside funding that allows us to collaborate with 5 area universities and 3 school districts, where we learn together to prepare diverse graduates for a diverse world. California epitomizes that diversity as a strength. We have secured this year, as another example, 2 additional endowed scholarships by people who are partnering with us to support School of Education students who believe in the power of education. These are just 2 examples, but there are many more. We also believe that for the sustainability of our organization, we have to look at proportionality. And what I mean by that is that we have to represent the students that we serve. And we have to ask ourselves questions when the proportions are at a significant imbalance. For example, in the graphic before you, you see that Latinx students are 60% of our student population in the School of Education. Our staff, 50% Latinx. Our faculty, 14%. As dean, it is not up to me to unilaterally change any of these statistics, but to work with our faculty and staff, to present them the data and ask them the question, do we need to take some actions? Do we need some initiatives to address any of this? It is not my work alone, but the work of the organization, the collective, to discuss this, to debate it, and to feel if there is action that we need to take to come up with it together. You can also see in the School of Education that 81% of our students are female, 89% of our staff are female, but 45% of our faculty are female. I'm not saying that the proportions have to be exact. I'm merely pointing out that it is my job to gather data and to have conversations within our organization. This is part of the DEI work that is data informed and can create productive, useful conversation, debate, and sometimes even disagreement. That too is healthy. Education and scholarship are another part of our framework, and I'll simply say here that we believe that diversity topics have to be present in the curriculum. We know over the past 2 years that this is a very, very controversial statement. This is a very, very controversial area. So I'll simply say that we believe that diversity topics must be present in our curriculum. We also believe that it is healthy for our faculty and staff to participate in diversity-related activity through their scholarship, their community engagement, and through their teaching. Climate and intergroup relationships are very important for an organization as well. And I'll just give one example here and tell you that we believe it is important to monitor the perceptions of how our faculty and staff, our internal employees, feel about the School of Education. Last year, I hired a consultant to conduct focus groups to ask faculty, staff, and students these very questions. Finally, access and success. Of course, we are here for the students. All of you tomorrow are embarking on your activities for students to give them a chance, to give them insights, to give them hope so that they can see a beautiful university campus, learn about STEM fields and so on. So students are the core of what we do. So what are we doing to ensure their access and success? Again, I give you an example of presenting data and drawing on data to help us make decisions related to DEI and to have healthy discussions. In the yellow, you see, for example, that in 2019-20, 6% of our students were Black or African American. 2 years later, in the green, which is about 2 years to get a master's degree, 4% of our graduates were Black or African American. So you can see 6% to 4% may not seem like that much because the percentages are small, but is it significant? These again are the conversations that we need to have if we are walking the talk, if we are practicing and engaging in DEI work. My conclusion is that our work in the School of Education and our potential work with you will be ongoing and never ending. The diversity framework that we have adopted helps us to operationalize our mission and the vision, which we have set and serves as our compass. We will adjust and we will learn lessons along the way, and we hope to learn those with others. So let me return to my remarks. Before I conclude with some final thoughts, so I do think that it is important that you know the School of Education, but also me as dean, as a leader of the school, and as a speaker tonight. So I want to quickly share with you my 3 priorities, which will likely endure for the next 3 years. My first priority is for the School of Education, and as many people as I can tell, is for us to understand our history in the School of Education. Few people know that the School of Education is 97 years old. I only discovered that this summer when I was reading about the history of the University of Redlands, a book in which the School of Education is only mentioned 3 times. I discovered, though, that in that 97-year history, it has always been shrouded in community service and outreach to diverse populations. We embrace this. Spanish philosopher George Santayana is credited with the aphorism that those who cannot remember their history are condemned to repeat it. In the School of Education, our endeavor is to better learn our history and embrace and repeat those parts, which should continue, but we should also acknowledge those aspects which existed, but that we wish to change. I hope in 3 years, you will join me for our centennial celebration, where we will have built out an understanding of our history and build that into our culture going forward. My second priority I have mentioned, it is partnership. The School of Education has a disproportionate impact in the Inland Empire, given the size of its faculty and staff. In 2021, for example, we graduated 595 students who went out into the Inland Empire to make a difference. The main way we can continue to grow our impact, I am convinced, is in partnership with K-12 districts, organizations like AAUW, other institutions of higher education, counseling centers, and our many community partners. Partnerships mean working with others on projects. Yes, it means giving money, but it also means working together so that our relationships can develop and become transformational, not merely transactional. Doing meaningful work together deepens the relationships for all involved and all those who are served because we found them together. My priority number 3 is internal culture. I'll simply say here that we must continually nourish the inside. It's true of any organization. In my case, our own faculty and staff, so we can do good work on the outside. If the inside is healthy, the outside will grow. As I conclude, I am reminded of the pre-Socratic Greek philosopher Heraclitus, who said, "You cannot step in the same river twice." By this, Heraclitus meant that the world is in a constant state of change. In the midst of this constant change, we also find stability and order, and even commonalities among and between us. The more stories that we hear, the more we find the others. The more that we find the others, the more we find diversity and change, but also this commonality of which I just spoke. In today's world, finding the others means finding partners to work with, to multiply impact, to learn together, to contribute together, to make a difference together. Here are some ways you might consider joining the School of Education so that we may search, find, and serve together. First and most importantly, I invite you to come to my office and open a dialogue with me. Visit with me and walk my halls with me so we may brainstorm and come up with ways to find and to serve together. Another way that we may find the others is to serve the 6th and 12th graders that I mentioned in what is called our Access Program and cohorts of students so we may travel the college readiness journey together with them. It takes approximately $75,000 per year to serve a cohort of 20 students in the Inland Empire to impact the lives that will probabilistically experience college as their first and their families. Talk to me about giving or helping or to raise resources so we can continue this work. We have former educators, counselors, administrators, and others who have given so much and that we want to provide with yearly scholarships. I mentioned 2 of them that we secured this year. Help me find others to serve and support those students. Talk to me about your connections and the ways that you can partner with us. A member of my advisory board, for example, is working with one of my faculty members and her team to put on a mental health and wellness event here in Redlands in September, as he is a city director and he is helping us make things happen. It is only with him that we can find and serve the others. Another advisory board member is working with 2 other faculty members to create professional development for student affairs professionals at Cal State University San Bernardino, a diverse institution which is a partner to us, not a competitor. Perhaps you know Mackenzie Scott, and together we can show her the power of our work and ask her for a mere $25 million. And we can tell her that we will name our school after her and assure her that future students and professors and staff and the AAUW in partnership with this will continue in creating a just and equitable world through education, and that will endure. The possibilities are many. The limit is only our time, our lost opportunity to meet and to talk together. On behalf of the School of Education, it is my hope that we find partnership opportunities and we help each other and others. This is where we will make a difference. I want to thank you for inviting me tonight, for allowing me to share some of the exciting things that are happening in the School of Education, both philosophically and concretely, and some of the possibilities that may allow us to partner to create transformation in the lives of those that we serve and those that we will serve in the future. Together, may we find the others. Thank you very much. Sure.
Striking that 81% of your students are thinking. That means you want 81% of your faculty.
So the question was, for those of you online, whether it is my goal to match proportionality, for example, between faculty, staff, and our students by gender. And I would say by extension, you know, that question may apply by race and ethnicity as well. And my answer to that question is that when we see a large disparity, I'll give the example of faculty, the Latinx example of 60% students are Latinx, but 14% of faculty. I personally believe that we need to increase the percentage because a disproportion is a little bit noticeable there, right? But I have to do that in partnership with our faculty and our staff and present them and have dialogue around that. The same thing with the gender, where we have 45% of our faculty are female, but 81% of our students are. I believe that we do need to address that. And these things, as we all know, they are years in the making, but if you don't start discussing them, the first step, however, is the current state, understanding where you're at. Then you engage in the conversation with faculty and staff to begin the process of changing it. So we are very sensitive, for example, in our hiring, as we think about a diverse pool of candidates and trying to create a diverse pool of candidates for faculty and staff. So I know that doesn't directly answer the question, but I would say that the goal is not necessarily to have percentages that are exact, but we want to close some of the gaps in some of the areas that are noticeable and that you and I use logic and say that's too big of a gap.
Is it possible to, I mean, when I saw that gap, one of the first things that occurred to me was you need more men in school. You need more male students.
That's another, that could be another take on it. And actually, I have had conversations, Erica, with different people about the need to engage male students in counseling and in the educational field. Sada and I are watching a very entertaining television show called Abbott Elementary School right now. And it is just so engaging watching the male teacher and the main character, and she's a teacher as well. But I think some of the points of the need for male teachers, for example, is something that we also need to discuss. Absolutely. Did you have a follow-up question? Oh, okay. Very good. Other questions? Yes, Ellen.
You talked about the need to have the diversity content, and I mean, teachers are being extraordinarily creative in how they engage with children and engage with the whole range of higher education levels to talk about diversity issues and the history behind the kind of tensions we have in society. And yet we have a lot of people in society who don't understand that and call it by disparaging names. How have you and your faculty engaged with that? Have you had very much that you've had to do here in Redlands?
The question is, how do we engage with, I would characterize it as sort of the misinformation
Yes.
About diversity in the curriculum, particularly at K-12 levels. I can say, Ellen, the part of the, some of the controversy that we avoid in higher education because we enjoy academic freedom and we're able to sidestep some of those controversies, but the people that we teach and that we send off do not. And so one of the ways that we are trying to wrestle with some of these issues is by having partnership with our K-12 school districts. I had mentioned the grant that we have, and we hear their stories and their concerns and some of the things that we don't have exact solutions on, but working with them about how to really put diversity into the curriculum in a way that actually informs people of why that's valuable and what it is and isn't doing is unsolvable at this point. But it's one of the reasons why we believe that universities exist, to work with our partners to figure out solutions. No question, it's a difficult issue right now. Other questions? Does anybody know Mackenzie Scott? No, I don't see any hands up. Okay. So Mackenzie Scott, yes. And she has been amazing in terms of her generosity to colleges and universities around the country and the types of initiatives which she has really proactively funded and has a passion for.
Maybe we could all send a delegation. Invite her to be the keynote of this day.
Well, I'll take one more call, last call for any questions, Erica, before I invite you back up. And yes.
Are you partnering with the community colleges in their child development majors?
Well, I do have the Kevin Horan, who is the president of Crafton Community College, is on my advisory board, actually. We are in the fall launching what we call a BA in Education Studies program, which is for adults who have college credit but never finished their degree. And we have to partner with community colleges to serve those students. So that actually initiative is in process. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again very much for having me.
Yes, get us on your ballot.
Okay. Can I just ask for information for Dr. Martinez? How many of our members here are teachers or retired teachers? Yes. So you're definitely preaching to the choir here. And we will now have a business meeting, and you two are welcome to stay, but you don't have to. We so appreciate your talk. Okay, old business. The first thing that I have down there is that we do have a date evidently for for LunaFest, which we did not have before. LunaFest. It is Friday, May 13th. And I don't know if that's lucky or unlucky, but so put it on your calendars that LunaFest will be May 13th. And it will be at Esri. Is that right, Catherine? You know, yes, okay. And tomorrow, it's been mentioned several times, but tomorrow is our STEM conference. And I wonder, Catherine, if you would just say a few words about how ready we are, or how excited we all are.
Overthinking a few things, and when you get to the point where you're overthinking, it's kind of just go ahead and do it. So I really am grateful for all of you that are coming tomorrow. I think it's gonna be a real fun day.
And the weather should be nice too, right? Okay, new business. Are there any interest groups or committee chair who would like to make a report or tell us what's happening? Okay, Sue?
I'll just do it from here, because I think everybody can hear me. Great Decisions starts next week. This year, instead of 8 sessions, we're going to have 9 sessions because they have 9 topics this year. We have an afternoon session that starts at 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon, and that one will meet at my house. Then we have an evening session on Wednesday evenings that Sue Ferguson is chairing. And Sue, it's going to be at your house the first time? Every time. Every time, okay. So all of the Wednesday night sessions will be at Sue's house. It's at 7, right? Yes. Yeah. And so if you have not already signed up for Great Decisions and you want to participate, the books have already been ordered for the group that signed up earlier. You would have to order your own book now, but you can do that easily by going on a line and in your search engine, just type in Great Decisions and it'll bring up the webpage that you need to go to order the book. But anybody is willing to join, but if you want to join one of the 2 groups, either the afternoon session or the evening session, contact either me for the afternoon session or Sue Ferguson for the evening session.
Have you gotten the books already? Have you looked at them?
Yes.
Is there any chapter on Ukraine?
No, there is not, which really was really surprising.
Yeah.
I was surprised that there was not, but no, there is not.
But there's one between US-Russian relations.
Yeah, US-Russian
Okay.
relations are on there. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's a
Because the
start.
topics are all really very timely and very, and they all have to do with foreign policy. So.
Okay,
So those are the 2 groups. So if you're interested, I will be sending out an email starting tomorrow to the afternoon group to get them set up and ready to go on Monday afternoon. And I'm sure Sue's already sent out hers for her group too. So, but if you want to join us, just let us know.
okay. Yes, Cassie. You want the,
So I chaired a public policy committee,
And you probably read in our newsletter that we have an initiative to become a 5-star chapter. And I won't bother you with what all that entails, but one thing we're going to be doing is collaborating with other branches. And in our April meeting, we will have Palm Springs and Ontario Rancho, Rancho Ontario chapter joining us. So I hope you come to that meeting and please make them feel welcome.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Well, piggybacking on Cassie, the April meeting is the AAUW Fund meeting, which means we're going to have a really great speaker who is the recipient of an American Studies Fellowship. And she is going to talk about her studies and diversity and equity and inclusion in organizations. So the other thing I'd like you to do, think about bringing your checkbook. So that if you'd like to make a donation to the AAUW Fund, it's easier to do if you have your checkbook with you. I think it's going to be a really interesting meeting, and I hope you will come and satisfy.
I think we can take credit cards now too, so we can take credit cards too, so bring your credit card. Kathy, anything about hiking? No? No. Anybody else? Okay, unfortunately, Nernie is not here, and so we don't have last month's minutes for the meeting. So what, I don't know, I'll think about this, but I think maybe what we'll do is just post it on the website and you can look at it and we'll vote, to approve it next time, but we'll have it posted. We'll have the minutes posted on our website. So, and Ellen. No, I have them. They're there on your table, the January financials. Yeah. It's all fine. Did you get a chance to look it over? You want to just give the highlights?
I haven't looked at it in a while. I've been working on February, to tell you the truth. It was actually, January was a very quiet month. There was very little activity and all of our accounts look good. Sorry, I was not prepared to discuss this. But I think everyone looked through, we have money in our accounts. And because we didn't have any meetings in January or February live, we didn't have a lot of collections because we weren't meeting in person. And really, there was nothing outstanding in January that I can recall.
Sue,
Questions?
are there any questions?
See all of our accounts from at the very top, gives you the balances in each of our accounts. And they all have money. We're spending a lot of money right now.
But we have that all budgeted
Yes.
correctly, so,
Yes.
okay. Sue, does this have to be approved by the membership? No.
Just file for review.
Okay, just filed for review, so. Anybody else who has comments about either the finances or interest groups? Any other new business? Yes, yes.
We're getting ready to start. When is our policies and procedures and bylaws meeting?
I think we, yes, March 11th.
We're gonna have a meeting of a group that's gonna review our policies and procedures and bylaws. If there's any change that you think needs to be made in those, please contact Erica or me so we can discuss that at that meeting and look at the possibility of making that change.
Okay, that's good. I don't know. There may be some things that we have to take a look at that are part of this 5-star, being a 5-star chapter. You know, I don't know whether all of you realize that this is an interesting and big deal that we're applying to be a 5-star branch. Because we've always said our branch does so much, you know, we are so active and people always comment to us about how active our group is. Thanks to Cassie, I mean, she said, how come we're not a 5-star branch when we do so much? And so we started looking into it. And it's a process, it's a procedure, but I think we're going to do it. I think by next year we will be a 5-star branch. So you could be proud of that. Okay, I have 2 announcements. People who had January, February, and March birthdays, there are little birthday gifts for you on the back table because we didn't meet live. Those of you who are January and February didn't get your gifts. So they are back there. And the other thing is, if you would like, please feel free to take one of the centerpieces. They are for us to take home. So our next board meeting for board members is the 14th of March, 6 o'clock on Zoom. And our next branch meeting is April 2nd. And it starts at, social time starts at 9 in the morning. And if there's nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.